Today on Time About the Movies, Jackie Chan and Jaden Smith lead off a brand new era in the Karate Kid series with a reboot of the series in general. We'll take a look at that, the new Karate Kid, which is not really the Karate Kid, but we'll delve into that a little bit. But we also have a big screen television adaptation coming to the screens with Liam Neeson, Bradley Cooper, Sharlto Copley, and Quentin Rampage Jackson as the A-Team. We also have Joan Rivers, who's a real piece of work, and that's the name of the movie too. We also have, and finally, we have Jennifer Lawrence and John Hawkes making their names known with one of the Oscar contenders for Best Picture that comes later in the year, Winter's Bone. So, 4 films to take a look at today on this June 11th, 2010. Time About the Movies coming your way next. Welcome to Time About the Movies. Today we're taking a look at the 4 films released on June 11th, 2010, and we're starting off with the biggest new release of the weekend, and that is, of course, The Karate Kid, which is, of course, a continuation of the original Karate Kid series. Technically, it's basically a remake of it because it's now taking a kid from his normal town that he was living in at the beginning to, instead of him going to California like in the '84 version. This time, they're going all the way to China, where we follow the story of Dre Parker, played by Jaden Smith, who moves from Detroit to Beijing with his widowed mother, played by Taraji P. Henson, and runs afoul of the neighborhood bully Chang. He makes an unlikely ally in the form of an aging maintenance man, Mr. Han, played by Jackie Chan, who's a kung fu master who teaches him the secrets of self-defense. And let's just say right off the bat that the Karate Kid needed this movie, but also Jackie Chan needed this movie badly, because he started the year off with The Spy Next Door. Needless to say, this is a vast improvement on both this and the next Karate Kid. It's a really good movie. It's a really good film overall, although they're not really teaching karate in this. It's kung fu. I mean, the remake was supposed to be called The Kung Fu Kid, but they changed it because people don't know the name of the Kung Fu Kid. Most people know the Karate Kid, so fuck it. Make it the Karate Kid, which I'm pretty sure that's what happened when they made this movie, but it made no sense whatsoever to do that. But regardless, this is a really good movie. It is a movie that works because it's not just rehashing the same story as the original film. They are doing things different with it. Jackie Chan is giving a really good performance in here. Jaden Smith is really good too. This is probably his only movie where he really does come off as a likable character and somebody that you want to get behind overall. Taraji P. Henson is great, playing his mother. It's funny because when they were promoting this movie, she was on Craig Ferguson, and that was my first time really knowing who she was, and like she had this bubbly personality to her on Craig Ferguson. It was just like, that's when I fell in love with her. That's when I was just like, okay, I cannot miss another movie that she's in, because like she's got so much charisma, so much talent to her. Like, it shows in this movie too, and it's a very interesting film overall. It's a movie that works because, like I said, it's not just rehashing the same movie again. They are doing things different with it. They are giving it this new, unique spin to it, and it works very well to the film's advantages, and I think it plays very well here. They've been talking about doing a sequel for this for the longest time, and then they were going to do it, but then they decided not to, and then they just said, fuck it, let's just do a sequel that combines this with the Cobra Kai universe, because we have Karate Kid Legends recently with Jackie Chan's character in this, and also Ralph Macchio from the original Karate Kid, and yet it retcons the film, basically placing them both in the same universe, so it's kind of a meshing of the two, which wasn't great, but wasn't bad, but wasn't great either. I mean, it was a movie that clearly was trying to do the same thing that the Ghostbusters franchise had done recently, try to get the jumping point for a new series of films, and I just don't think it worked. I think most people were not really taken aback by it. They were just kind of like, we don't really want to see another one of these, because it didn't do gangbuster business overall at the box office, but it didn't do bad business overall, and I don't think it's worthy enough that we'll see another sequel to that down the road, but it was cool seeing both Jackie Chan and Ralph Macchio working to help this young kid out in that movie. But this is a really good movie, and I wish they would have done another sequel to this earlier. But at this point, I mean, maybe we should be glad it was just a one-off movie, because I feel like they would have butchered it and probably would have redone the same thing they did with the second Karate Kid movie, Karate Kid Part 2, which that worked because it was better. It was a different movie than the original film. It wasn't doing the same thing it did with the last movie. And I feel like if they made the sequel to this, it would have been the same movie as this film, except with a different story and with a different setting in general. But for the most part, yeah, it's a really good movie. The Karate Kid is one that I do recommend checking out. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the second movie we have this weekend, and that is Joe Carnahan's adaptation of the classic 80s television series, The A-Team. I mean, it looks like it has the silly, over-the-top gonzo fun of Smoking Aces mixed in with the classic television series, and it seemed like they were really going to go down that route and make it work, but this is definitely not as good as it could have been. You have essentially the same plot as the television series. An elite army team is framed for a crime they didn't commit, and after escaping from jail, they try to clear their name. You got Hannibal Smith, played by Liam Neeson, Face, played by Bradley Cooper, Sharlto Copley, playing Murdoch, and B.A. Baracus, played by Quentin Rampage Jackson. It also features Jessica Biel, Patrick Wilson, Gerald McRaney, Brian Bloom, and as I said, it's directed by Joe Carnahan of Smoking Aces. And as with Carnahan's other film, Smoking Aces, this is a jam-packed, badass action film with so much action that you won't be able to get a hold of yourself after it's done. There is a lot of problems with the movie. I think I speak for everyone that when I say that as good as Quentin Jackson is as B.A. Baracus, because he was really the big thing that came out of this movie that everyone was just like, wow, this guy's really good. Like, there will never be another Mr. T. I feel like that as good as he is in the movie, you can't do what T did with that movie. I mean, that's something where it's just like, yeah, they shouldn't even. It shouldn't even. I mean, it's a noble effort, but it doesn't even pale in comparison. Mr. T will always be the badass one. Also, the movie does run long. I mean, I think it's one of those things where it's just like, it's not even over 2 hours. It's just a little over. It's just a little bit at 2 hours long, 118 minutes. But you really do feel like they could have cut 15 minutes out of the movie. And, you know, when they're at the base, that's where they should have cut it out. And I think they were setting up the story for. I know it's supposed to set up the story for the conclusion here, but I think the film ran a little bit too long. If they had cut that out, I feel like they could have really had a tighter film. Speaking of other things involving a tighter film, the editing is really bad too, surprisingly. Like I didn't like that the film broke for a few seconds to show them preparing the plan during the action sequences. Just like, I don't know, like, just get on with the action sequences already. Give us the stuff we want to see, because that was working. That was really badass stuff that they were doing. But, like I said, the performance is overall really good. You know, Patrick Wilson's playing a good antagonist here. I mean, you could tell right away that he's the bad guy. And Jessica Biel, I've been kind of crapping on her for some of her movies she had done as of late around that time, but she was actually not that bad in here. I mean, the action sequences, like I said, are badass. The editing was just a little bit off on them, and the direction on the film was very good. I think there is a lot there to admire about the film. It's still not a great movie per se, but it's still one where I would say, if you like Smoking Aces, you should really like The A-Team. And I like Smoking Aces, and I like The A-Team. So, there you go. With that said, let us move on to our next movie, and that is the documentary Joan Rivers, who's a real piece of work. Yeah, so this is a documentary following Joan Rivers for 14 months during her 76th year of her life, and makes an effort to peel away the mask and expose the struggles, sacrifices, and joy of living life as a groundbreaking female performer. The New York Times reported that Stern and Sundberg, the directors of this, Ricky Stern and Amanda and Sundberg, lucked out with their timing, starting the film the year before Rivers won Donald Trump's Celebrity Apprentice in 2008. You also have Richard Belzer, Brad Garrett, you see Kathy Griffin in the trailer, Bill Maher, Don Rickles, Jeff Ross, Gary Shandling, Lily Tomlin. So a stacked cast overall in here, and a very engaging documentary. I feel like Joan Rivers is somebody who really deserves a lot more appreciation. I've done a blog post talking about that not too long ago, and it was mostly because I saw the Late Night Wars series on Fanboy Films, and there's a great moment in there where, you know, Joan Rivers is somebody who, somebody who really, when she got that late night show in the 80s and didn't tell Johnny Carson about that before he eventually found out, and that basically ended their friendship, like, you could tell that really hurt Joan Rivers, and not in a way where it's just like, oh, she's just doing this for her own personal needs. But no, like, when that show came and went, like, her life just kind of fell apart after that show ended, because her husband committed suicide. She was the producer on that show, and she was being blacklisted by everybody because of that show. and it would take a couple of years before she eventually found her way back into the spotlight again. And one of the great things about Joan Rivers is that even though she was really mad about Johnny Carson never calling her, and never talking to her ever again, like there's a great moment in I think it's like a documentary. I don't know if it's not this documentary, but there was a show they did. I guess she had a reality show in the 2010s where she was going to go to the graveyard of Johnny Carson, and she's about to go like mess around with it, dance on his grave and all that. It's like, oh, you mean nasty man, you. And the great thing about Joan Rivers is that she could be outspoken and as mean-spirited as she wants to, but she could also be very sincere and try her hardest not to hold a grudge against the people that many think she should hold grudges with. Like, that really is something that sticks with me because, there's a lot, I have grudges too, and I have a lot of grudges as well, and it's just like, you want to go out there, just tell that person, hey, I don't like you, I hate what you do, and it's like, I can't believe you did this to me. But I look back on the end of this where she's going to Johnny Carson's grave, she's about to do these things, and then she realizes what that person meant to her and everything he had done for her, and how much she still sees him as a friend, and so she basically just decides to pay her respects to her. And it's just like, it's incredible for her to never let her emotions and anger get the best of her, except with the people who she should be upset with. I mean, Johnny Carson, the fact that he never called her after the whole debacle with Fox, but it's just kind of like, that's a dick move on his part. But at the same time, like, I really don't think he had any real total grudges with her in particular. Just the fact that she went behind his back to do this show, and to never forgive her for that. It's just kind of like, it really is something where it's just like, I'm more fascinated with Joan Rivers now than I was back then. It's just kind of like, I mean, this is not just with this documentary, but just as a person alone. When you see all these documentaries and all these videos out there of showing her outside of her normal stuff here, you do see a more personal character in general, and you get fascinated by what you see here. The documentary is great as it is, and it is a solidly put together movie in general. But it's a movie. It's one of those things where you get more fascinated by what you hear about this Joan Rivers more when you look into more than just the documentary in general. And I think that's very fascinating stuff to look at all across the board here. So yeah, I kind of went off a little bit there, but yeah, it's a very fascinating documentary. But if you watch this and then also look for that Late Night Wars Carson versus Rivers segment, because it is something that really is a nice little contribution to this documentary, so you get a little bit more of an insight of how Joan Rivers really felt about some of these things that were going on at the peak of her career. And it's a very fascinating documentary, both for this and the video shorts and the video Late Night Wars Fanboy Films. It's definitely on there. Definitely look for that. But with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our last movie that we have here, and that is Winter's Bone, starring two notable young actors who would not really young actors, but rising actors, if you will, who really took off after this movie, especially one person in particular. And thus, a star is born. That's Jennifer Lawrence, of course, in her first major leading film role here, playing a poverty-stricken teenage girl named Reed Dolly in the rural Ozarks of Missouri, who must locate her missing father, played by John Hawkes, to save her family from homelessness. And this is a movie that not a lot of people saw when it came out originally. I mean, it did become a decent hit in the indie circuits. It only cost $2 million to make, and it made 8 times that budget overall. But it did go on to become a significant awards contender, including 4 nominations at the Academy Awards for Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Supporting Actor John Hawkes, Best Actress in a Leading Role Jennifer Lawrence, who at 20 years old was actually the second youngest Best Actress nominee at the time, and a Best Picture nomination too. This thing was nominated in Best Picture. That's the thing about this year's Oscars. It's all things considered, we're at the point of the Oscars where this is one of the worst Oscar years, not because of the list of movies. There's a lot of great movies that were nominated for Best Picture, but the worst one of the bunch won Best Picture, and that's The King's Speech. And I'll save my rant on that until we get to that movie later on down the road, because, oh boy, I can already sense the people who are King's Speech lovers who are going to be so pissed off at what I have to say about that one. But Winter's Bone really is a really good independent coming-of-age movie, with Jennifer Lawrence really showing her capabilities as an actress as a whole, like really giving the people the chance to see that, hey, this girl's got a lot of work to her. This girl's going to be the future of filmmaking, and of course, but a couple years later, she won her an Academy Award and was nominated for several other Oscars as well. And John Hawkes is really good too. He doesn't get as much attention as Lawrence did, but this is a guy that I remember seeing him on Eastbound and Down before this. Really good actor, really damn good actor. Of course, he was on Deadwood. He's also on True Detective. He's done a ton of stuff that you might be familiar with. American Gangster. He was in Lincoln. He was in 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri. He was in The Perfect Storm. He was in From Dusk Till Dawn. He's been in a lot of stuff that you may have seen and you may have not seen, but it's a great performance in here. The cast overall is really good. Dale Dickey, Garrett Dillahunt from Raising Hope, Cheryl Lee, Tate Taylor. I mean, just phenomenal cast in here, and a really good movie. I can't recommend this one enough. Winter's Bone is definitely one you want to check out, especially if you want to see one of Jennifer Lawrence's earliest leading film roles, and it really shows that the girl's got some talent to her, and she would eventually win an Academy Award down the road, rightfully so. And so, with all that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies, and the next time we meet, we'll take a look at 3 more movies, including a tie with one of my favorite movies of the year, one of the best movie of the year, and it's a movie that not a lot of people were expecting to be as good as it ended up being, but Toy Story 3 really took a lot of people by surprise, including this person right here. We'll take a look at that. We'll take a look at Josh Brolin as Jonah Hex, which sounds like a badass idea, but then you see the movie and you realize, oh no, this does not work at all. We also have, last one we have here, John C. Reilly, Jonah Hill, and Marissa Tomei starring in the indie comedy Cyrus. So we'll take a look at those 3 movies coming up on the next episode tomorrow. So definitely be on the lookout for that. But with all that said, though, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button. Also, check out our playlist as well as the previous episode. And with all that said, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care.